Welcome back to Wash Talk, the Car Wash Podcast. I'm your host, Rich DiPaolo, and joining me today is Chuck Howard, Chief Executive Officer, and Carl Howard, President and Chief Operating Officer at Autobell Car Wash. Great to see you gentlemen today.
Good to see you, Rich. Thanks for having us. Appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely, anytime. So, on today's episode of Wash Talk, the Car Wash Podcast, I wanted to catch up with you both about the current state of the car wash market and how Autobell is being affected by some of these market trends that we're seeing over these last couple of years. But I'm curious, how would you gentlemen describe the current state of the car wash industry, and has that definition or description of the car wash industry changed in the past 18 months or so?
Well, I can start by saying that these are most unusual times. I think anybody in the industry would agree. The growth of locations has been tremendous, and there's a lot of opportunity there. There's a saying that more car washes are built, the more cars will be washed, and we're certainly seeing that now. Driveway car washing is practically a thing of the past. There's so many choices for the motorists that everybody comes to a car wash somewhere. So that's a good thing for the industry, and I think that over the last couple of years, maybe the growth has slowed a little bit, maybe because of the economy and interest rates and things like that. But we still see acquisitions and greenfield builds in every market. The current interest rate environment that we're seeing, essentially doubling of the cost of money, I think you'll see in the months to come a little bit of a slowdown as far as new builds and acquisitions go, primarily fueled by the higher interest rate environment. We're already hearing of some funding issues in different places. So what's on the books, what you're seeing happening right now is going to play out until, kind of the pipeline empties, and you'll probably see a little slowdown in the next 6 to 8 months.
All right, understood. Now, over the past few weeks here, we've heard news of issues in the banking sector, and obviously the Fed recently upped interest rates again. So, has Autobell specifically had to make any changes to its business or operations due to the current U.S. and global economic environment?
Well, our growth has been, as most people know, slow and steady over the 53 years we've been in business. And so we add to our locations every year if possible. We have a big CFO that watches our cash flow and helps manage our banking relationships. So we're very conservative when it comes to that. And so while we're watching the current conditions, we're, I think, in good shape with what we're doing. And as always, when things get a little too tight, we just pause for a little bit, tap the brakes and wait it out and pick it up again. I would add that our supply chain is still a little bit slow in general. Prior to, all the changes, really going all the way back pre-COVID, 6 weeks, 8 weeks was a typical lead time for almost everything. And now it's more like 90 days and even more sometimes. So we're keeping more inventory. We are anticipating orders much earlier in advance, trying to get equipment and components much earlier in advance. Labor issues have pretty well normalized for us. We're not seeing any real hot spots, getting, frontline and management participation in the car wash side of our operation, and even on the Alcona side as well. So labor normalized, but supply side still having to work hard to maintain and keep inventories.
It's half good news anyway, and hopefully the other half of that works itself out here shortly for you. And Chuck, nothing wrong with slow and steady, right? I was told that wins the race when I was younger. Somebody was talking about my tennis game back then, but we'll move on. All right, I want to give you guys an exclusive here. We're actually preparing our files for the April issue of Professional Car Washing and Detailing magazine, which I know you both read. But the cover story this month is going to be on Thomas Car Wash. Not sure if you're familiar with that car wash up in Kentucky, but we spoke with third generation owner Alex Thomas. So this is a family owned and operated car wash, just like Autobell, right? And we asked Alex what changes they were noticing in the market. And of course, private equity and acquisitions were the two leading ones that he mentioned. But I want to read you both a quote here. When we asked him about private equity's impact on the market, he said, quote, "Actually, it's affected us in a good way. They help us," meaning private equity and these large investors, they help us step up our game. We look at them as competitors and not enemies. And he went as far as saying that we're grateful for them. So do the Howards share the same viewpoint on private equity as the Thomases? How would you describe the impact of private equity on the industry so far?
Well, yes, I think that's a good quote. They are competitors, and competition often is good because it does keep you top of your game, so to speak. And also, as I said earlier, the motorist has many choices, and so they will go where they get the best perceived value, maybe convenience, quality, and value. And so that's where we try to compete.
I would agree. I definitely would agree that overall competition is good. It's not only good for operators, it's good for the consumer. It gives them an opportunity to see different service offerings, and then they can compare and contrast and make even better informed decisions on their purchasing. We're in a niche of the industry where we still clean interiors with people. So we'll have triple the amount of employees typically that or more that express type, which is generally speaking the private equity choice of operation. So we have a different service offering, generally speaking, than they do. So customers get to make a choice on how they want their car to be cleaned. We feel like we're well positioned to, expand our operating platform into the future. So I look at this phase of our industry as kind of a positive, great expansion, and kind of a little bit of a stratification, so to speak, of different niches in the industry. So you still have detailers, you still have self-serves in smaller markets, you still have conveyors in bigger markets, and then you have express models versus flex or full-serve models. And there may be more to come, more different ways to even wash your car in the future. So I'm excited for the future of the car wash industry in general.
That's interesting. Yeah. So one of these things these larger investors and private equity are bringing are more car washes, right? We're building more car washes, it seems like, than ever before. The estimates that I've heard are 800 plus new car washes a year. So certainly a lot of car washes. When Autobell does have a car wash that builds across the street or down the block, is there a knee-jerk reaction? Is there any change in strategy to how you market to that area? And how has that changed over the past decade or so?
Well, Rich, that's been going on almost since we've been in business, since the beginning. There's been many times when we had a competitor open up literally across the street or down the street or next door. So, we just maintain our course. We don't overreact. We do reemphasize to our people the training and the hiring practices, because that's our differentiator is our people. And we work really hard to hire the best, usually from the neighborhood, usually young people that are students, but they're bright, they are energetic, and the customer's liable. And so we just stick to our knitting and keep doing what we know how to do.
I would echo that. We don't get excited. We've seen a lot of things in almost 54 years in May. So we know how to handle competition. That's, put it that way. We know how to handle it. We know what we need to do, and we do it day in and day out.
And as one of you mentioned earlier in the interview, there's more people washing their cars these days. So if there is a competitor that's building close to an operator out there, maybe take a wait and see approach, and hopefully volume doesn't drop if at all, right? So that's the message we could tell those folks. But in that article I mentioned with Thomas Car Wash, they mentioned that for decades there was always, up till this day, there's always a Thomas at the end of the tunnel to greet customers, and I have a feeling that the Howards were the same, always on site greeting customers. So how does a wash like Autobell, so entrenched in the communities and the customer base, in what ways does Autobell preserve a quality customer service in this contact-less digital world that we live in?
Well, yeah, from the beginning, at least when I became president of the company, we spent a lot of resources on documentation, knowing that as we grow across several states, can't always be at every location. So we documented all of our systems, and that's a living document. It's being mended all the time, and then invest in our employees' training to get that information to them and have them feed it back so we know that they understand it, and then build an organization of districts where the most experienced and qualified members of our teams become district managers, and they understand our philosophy, how we do things, and hopefully that carries through as well as that we were out there ourselves.
We also spent a lot of time defining our culture that we had for, I guess at that time, 45 or so years, about 10 years ago. But so we really made an effort to actually put down on paper what it is that is this Autobell culture. What is it? How do we define it? And we spent over a year really trying to get down to what is our purpose, what is our mission, what is our vision, and our values. And so we actually put that in writing, and it's the same today. It's always been there. We just had never, spent the time to write it down. Writing it down and using it as part of our training and orientation with every new person that comes on board has been a big improvement, because they don't have to learn it as they go. They can study it and understand it and make sure that it matches with their values and their, purpose and their why. And so it's actually helped us get new people oriented much, much quicker.
Yeah, when the goals are clear, it's a win-win for both the employee and the customer, right? So I appreciate you gentlemen doing this podcast interview with me today. Congratulations on the upcoming anniversary in May. That's a long time to be in the car wash industry. Certainly one of the best in our market. And it was great seeing you both today.
All right. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, Rich. Enjoy it.
Absolutely.